What's up, guys? Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique, and today we're talking water retention. So hey y'all, what's up? Is it Thursday? I think it's Thursday. It is. Happy Thursday, y'all. Today's topic came from YouTube, and it came from my YouTube. So let's talk a little bit about water retention. But first, Rocco's Modern Life, right? I feel like it's an appropriate shirt if you don't understand the reference. They used to call people heifers, and heifer was the name of the cow. And sometimes that's how we feel when that water retention's going on and when it's happening, right? Not a good feeling, not something fun. You know, we see the scale go up, maybe our measurements go up, and we just don't look very lean. Maybe we had some lines and now they're getting blurry, and you know, this shit, it's not fucking fun, right? It's not fun when we're like, what the fuck? I was 4 pounds lighter yesterday, okay? So, let's talk a little bit about water retention and, you know, maybe some of the things that are causing it. So, this is one of the big things that I see a lot of people get really upset about too. And it makes sense because we like to associate our progress with what the scale says, right? The number on that scale dictates whether or not we are successful with our dieting phase, right? Now, is that necessarily fair? No, but it's definitely something that we do. And so mentally, when the scale is off, whether it's water or not water, it fucks us up, right? So first and foremost, let me say that when we're talking about this water retention, right? If you have a disease state, you have diabetes, anything of the sort, right? Vascular disease, those kind of things. This doesn't going to apply to you. You need to go talk to your doctor, okay? Now, if you realize that you're having a lot of swelling and edema in the legs, that also might be an indication that you need to talk to your doctor. Most importantly, and more specifically, if you're overweight as well. Because of the fact that we might be seeing those things starting to present themselves, right? So it's very important that we're aware of some of these swelling issues and edema issues can be associated with other disease states. We don't want to take that lightly. Make sure you go to your doctor, get the right tests done, get your A1C checked, get your fasting blood glucose checked, make sure things are in line before you just discount it as maybe it's sodium, or maybe it's fiber, or maybe it's this or that, the other thing, right? So be very aware of that. We don't want to risk general health and our overall health because, you know, we are discounting it as something that for most people it could very well be, but for us as an individual, maybe it's a little bit something more serious, okay? So what are some of the big reasons for why I see water weight changes, right? The easy one, time after time after time, is sodium, right? So one of the big things that we really tend to forget is that when we click our clean foods, when we're eating at home, when we're doing our thing, it's very low sodium, it tends to be, because we're not adding a lot of sodium. A lot of people aren't using processed foods, prepackaged foods, like something like deli meat has a lot of sodium, right? But if we're getting turkeys, we're cooking it, we're cooking chicken, there's not a lot of added sodium in that food. So our sodium intake comes down. Now, what happens when your sodium intake comes down over a long period of time? Your body now becomes used to that. What happens is your kidneys, they reabsorb sodium when sodium intake is low, and when sodium intake is high, they reabsorb less, right? So what happens is if you're used to reabsorbing more sodium, keeping more sodium in your body, right? Because your sodium intake is typically on the lower end. What we see is when we go out to eat, sushi is a really good proponent of this. So it's like fries and any kind of other fried food, that kind of stuff. They're typically very high in sodium. So if you're used to getting 2 grams of sodium a day, right? This is an arbitrary number, right? And you get 3.5 to 4 grams of sodium, you just doubled your sodium intake for the day. Therefore, your body is still going to be reabsorbing a lot of that. It's not necessarily used to it, right? You're going to hold more water. Sodium holds water. It holds water in blood volume, right? So we might see that that can like spill over a little bit too, but that can easily be one of the big And 9 times out of 10, that's the reason we see. It's a big change in sodium for why that weight comes up and we're holding extra water. Now, I've also had clients that are in competition prep who had a very high sodium intake. So we're talking 8-9 grams a day. And this one in particular with a female. Now, we found that after leg days and after leg workouts, we would have a lot of swelling and edema in the legs, okay? So we cut back sodium, problem solved, right? So first and foremost, looking at your sodium intake and making sure that one, it's pretty reasonably level. Now, if you're having 2 grams a day, maybe staying within half a gram of sodium of that is going to be a good place to be, right? Now, if you're eating 7 grams a day, maybe you can now facilitate being within a gram and a half of sodium of that. It's going to be dependent on what your current sodium intake is. Remember, it's a lot of percentage-based stuff, so we want to make sure that we're not going too high over what we're used to. Our body likes what we call homeostasis, which is kind of a range. So, speaking of training, here's one of the other reasons that we can see water retention happening. Inflammation. Simple inflammation. Case in point, before I go to the gym to work legs, my legs look semi-decent. I'm not super lean right now, but they look decent. You can see some lines. When I finish my leg workout, I can't see shit. I get swelling, I get inflammation, I get a little bit of edema in my legs after I'm training, so they don't look as sharp or as good, right? That's my legs. So now, that being said, general inflammation, whole body inflammation from training can also be part of why maybe we're holding a little bit of water weight and we're seeing the scale come up, okay? Typically, you'll know that this is what we're seeing if we do a deload, right? We do a deload and you drop a pound or 2, we know that we had some inflammation weight come in there, right? Body's healing up now, things are going a bit better, right? HIIT cardio, also a big one proponent of this. What we see is if we start HIIT cardio, it can be very, very taxing on the system. It can create that inflammation. And we can actually see weight come up initially when starting a HIIT cardio regimen, right? So something that you like, that is probably pretty important to be aware of, okay? So if you're starting to do HIIT cardio, you haven't been doing a lot of cardio, you're starting to do weight training, you see an initial bump up, don't let it freak you out too bad. Now, if that trend continues, that's when we want to make some changes. But if it's just a first week trend and then we start seeing things coming down, we know that it's because we're inflamed, we're seeing extra water weight being held, right? What else, Stephen? Stress. Stress can definitely do it too. Stress can cause you to hold water weight. Cortisol is a hell of a thing, and it will really fuck you up. So one of the big things you want to make sure is that you're getting enough sleep and you're doing stress management. Stress management, progressive relaxation, yoga, meditation, Tai Chi. There are a million different things. Green exercise. I know it's winter. I live in Florida. I can still do green exercise, right? So working within what we have available to us. Another way that we can help to make sure that we're not having too much extra water retention. All right. I'm eating healthy. What's another one, Stephen? Fiber intake. Fiber intake is another one that when we drastically increase our fiber intake, right? And this can happen when we go and we may try and make a life-changing change to eating all the healthy foods instead of all the unhealthy foods, right? We might simply be holding more water in our GI tract. That fiber holds water, pulls water into the GI tract, and we can hold extra water there as well. So now there's a slew of other things hormonally that could be happening. Ladies, we know this is true with your menstrual cycles as well. And we don't want to necessarily feel bad about menstrual cycle water retention, right? We just want to understand it and know it. If we feel bad about it, we're always trying to make changes whenever that time of the month comes around, right? That's not necessarily the best thing. I tend to like to keep things stable during menstrual cycles, right? We can expect to see that for most women, weight is going to increase as the menstrual cycle begins. It's going to decrease as it ends, right? So there's no need that we have to make changes during that time. We can wait that out and be a little bit patient. So sometimes patience also is going to be your best tool in the toolbox in terms of dealing with that water retention and water weight gain. So if you find that you're having issues and none of these things are helping, go see your physician. Talk to them about it, see if maybe there's something else that's off that's causing it, right? That's gonna be it, guys. So water retention, I hope that helps. It gives you a little bit of insight as to some of the things that may or may not be causing it, and then maybe, possibly, helps get that fixed for us. So, it's gonna leave it there. Bye.